Hi, Ed. I just want to check and see if your mic's working.
How are you doing, Molly?
Ed Dunham?
I remembered the tickets. You want to pick like 10 out, whatever numbers you want. Just let me know what numbers you pick. Some people have lucky numbers.
Ed, can you hear us? Hi, Ed. I just want to check and see if your mic's working.
Yeah, I pulled 188.
I'm wondering. Ed Dunham?
You can have it if you want.
Oh.
I remember the tickets.
188 to 190.
Yeah, because they pulled 188. I thought my brother-in-law might want it for the 8s.
It's like a 20-second delay.
Yeah.
So you gotta mute it.
She wanted 8 and 88, so she didn't end up taking that one. But probably easier if you just took me over. You know, put it in my notes. Whatever it is you want.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll actually share the screen or not because it might be just too difficult.
Yeah, you'd have
But
to wait, right? Or
No, it'll
Well,
work.
who's- all our participants should be on Zoom, right? Nobody's.
Yeah, nobody's. Well, what we'll do is
Can we turn the voice off on you?
when we get to YouTube, what we'll do is
Okay, which number?
we'll check and see like there should be, if somebody's in here,
Uh-huh,
they could chat in this box right here.
okay.
201, 202,
So,
203, 204.
so we'll have to, before we move on like through stuff, we'll have to wait like a minute
Okay,
because that,
Don't feel like you have to sell them all either. Whatever people want, they want.
we'll have to wait like a minute because that takes
We'll just
like a
write
minute
on the
delay.
little- It takes what? Because we have to put it, we have to keep track of all these people. So how's everything else going?
Hi, Mike.
Anything new?
I don't think we're gonna have a quorum.
no?
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to see if you could hear us.
Years on video.
Over here. Oh, no, that, I don't know, who put that there?
Is Ray coming?
Not sure. Bear with me because I'm not the most savvy with this thing. This is my first time doing it. So bear with us, please. Mike's having an issue.
Yeah, that's Christina. Who's having a brain fart on your name?
Well, you can only see part of me.
Well, and what's worse is you can't see like people smiling or reading their
Expressions,
faces.
yes, they
Yeah.
can be really pissed and you don't even know it.
You know, like,
We're live on YouTube.
Oh,
I don't know, Cliff,
Yes,
I don't know if you see me or not.
I see your arm. Hi, Michelle's arm.
I was gonna text you, but it was easier just to get up and wave.
All right, well, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We're not gonna have a quorum this evening because we only have a couple participants online and a couple in the room. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. I have Cliff Winkle, Councilwoman Swank, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Hung. Mr. Dunham and Mr. Burrow. And myself, Daniel Rodriguez, and Assistant City Engineer Christina Evanson. So on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about, we would normally do the minutes, but since the minutes can't be approved, everybody's got a copy. Please look them over. We'll try to approve them at our October meeting along with, well, we can't do minutes. Well, we'll do minutes, but they won't be official since we don't have a quorum for this meeting. But we'll jump right into everything that we're talking about a little bit. Christina, you want to do that first?
That might be.
That's a phone dial-in. Looks like we have one more person joining us. May I ask who just joined us?
Michael Borrow.
Okay, you do my phone.
Okay.
So he's saying. All right, we can hear you now.
Very good.
So we're going to continue on. First item on the agenda is just a quick update of our stormwater project at Boulder Creek or Boulder Drive, and that has to do with Mills Creek. We have, we're in the process of acquiring the easements for that parcel. We have, I want to show just a couple of drawings. So we're going to try to share the screen here. Bear with us as we do this. We're going to share the screen. I'm going to show a drawing of the proposed location and some wetlands problems that are going to arise during this process. And also try to show maybe one or two of the exhibits for the easements themselves and the property that we must purchase or get a permission basically to go on with this project. So bear with us as we try to share the screen here. Christina, if you want to share. Share this.
One person's waiting, it's Brendan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, then we have a quorum of Brendan?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm going to let somebody else in here first. Brendan? Can you hear us, Brendan? Let the record show that Brendan McCool's joined the meeting. So again, I'm gonna share the screen. And on the screen, if you could see it, can everybody see the map there with the red lines and the arrows and the different green lines?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
If you're looking at your computer screen. As you can see by the map, the green is forested wetlands, and that's basically our trail from Cypress Avenue up past the Boulder cul-de-sac and into the parcels that we bought last year. The 40 acres or 32 acres that we bought. So that is our route. As you can see, it's got some different wetlands issues throughout, and it's basically about there's four different property owners that we're going to be dealing with in these acquisitions. So that's our route. We're going to be starting here at Cypress and basically heading north, go under Chestnut Ridge. These set of lines here is Chestnut Ridge, and continue to head north past Boulder Drive here, and then up into the parcel that we own, which extends to the west from this point. So I'm going to stop this share. I'm also going to show let me open up another drawing here. Oops. I'm just going to show the Cypress easement exhibit. Can everybody see the Cypress easement exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, so basically on the right-hand side of the screen, you have Cypress Avenue, off of Lear Nagel. And then you can see we're doing a meandering, a meandering ditch through that property. And then we got to cross the gas line easement here. And then we're going to make it up to Chestnut Ridge. We're going to put some culverts underneath Chestnut Ridge and get us to the other side, who's a different property owner. So all these exhibits are basically how we're going to be purchasing this property, or at least attempting to purchase easements to these properties. So we have 4 of these that we've done, that our consultant has done. And we're going to be working with OR Colon and, Allied Appraisal. They're going to be doing the work on this to try to get that done for us. And hopefully we can have that, if not done by the end of the year, just after the first of the year, so we can get those properties and easements acquired. So I'm going to stop this share. And those basically all look about the same. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing there. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Fine.
Ladies?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
with the amount of funding that we have available, do we have enough funding to finish acquiring all the land necessary through easements or purchase?
Currently, we have about just over $400,000 left in the grant monies that we've put aside or that we've been granted by the state of Ohio. We're hoping that takes care of that. We were told by our consultants that we're looking at approximately 200,000 for those estimates, so we'll have a little bit left over. We did apply for a new grant for the remaining estimated cost on this project through ODNR, but with everything going on, they have pulled different funding programs, and we have not heard about that grant since we applied. We did apply for $3.6 million more, because that's basically what it's going to cost us to finish the project. But we haven't heard anything since. That went down to ODNR in December of 19. So, and I'm not sure if we're going to hear anything from that this year because of the way the state's been cutting their budgets.
Do we have enough funding to finish doing drawings for the project?
Yes, the drawings.
With the anticipated, 200,000?
Yes, the drawings are pretty much, I think we're paid up. Well, we only have about 70 or 80,000 left on the drawings, so there should be enough funding to also cover that. So we should have enough to cover the remaining design money, and also some of this acquisition, if not all of the acquisition, and then maybe a little bit buffer at the end.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Brendan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. I'm still at work, so I'm just muted because there's a whole bunch of radio traffic right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear what's going on.
Yep.
Okay, so our next topic would be on the agenda is the May 15th storm that happened. And so I did want to share a little tidbit of weather information from that storm that this mass is coming, that we acquired, after the fact. Obviously, all the recorded data, we were able to find this chart that kind of depicts what happened that day, or at least tells us a sign. It's in that same folder. So if you go to that folder, yeah. Give me a second while we get it up on the screen. If you go back to the main, yeah, that folder. If you go to the, yep, that one. So we're going to screen share some weather data from that day. So basically what this is showing us, if everybody can see and who cannot see, basically on this top line, it gives you our storm events when we refer to them in the 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 year, 200 year, 500 year, and 1,000-year storm. It's kind of mislabeling to call them 100 years because most people are going to think that it only happens once in 100 year. That's not really the way it works. It's a 0.01% chance that it's going to happen. So it's not really 1 in 100, it's 0.01%. So it's a little bit misleading to say 100-year storm because we're having them all the time. So, and then on the side here, you can see that's duration. So it's how much rain we get in a period of time. So I'm just gonna go over to basically between 30 and 60 minutes. On May 15th, we had more than 3 inches of rain. So if you go between 30 and 60 minutes and you just look at the 100-year, you could see there that it's 3.93 or 2.63. So if we had 2.63 inches in an hour at the 60-minute mark, we had a 100-year storm. So I know we had way more than that because we had about 3 inches in about 30, 40 minutes. So, until we saw what happened that day, Mills Creek flooded, Bainbridge flooded, we had all kinds of different parts of the city, Learnagle flooded. Our typical culprits flooded, but unfortunately with Mother Nature, there's not really much that we could do. And this is the data from that day. So this data is accurate. This data was interpolated. It's 90% accurate. It's got a plus minus 5% accuracy to it, but it's pretty accurate. So this is the data that we had, that we obtained, and it's pretty spot on because that's what happened that day. And a lot of people that I've talked to said that we had 3+ inches of rain in that period of time. And not only that, but we also had rain the night before, and that rain was pretty significant as well. We had a good inch the night before. So with that, in a less than 24-hour period turnaround, we got hammered in the afternoon, and that's what happened. So unfortunately, we weren't prepared. We have been doing a lot of different things for remediation or mitigation of flooding, but no community can prepare for what happened on May 15th, unfortunately. But we're doing the best we can. Our crews are out every day cleaning ditches. They're out every day cleaning sewers. And so we're doing a bunch of different things, but when you have that type of rainfall, and I know that our residents and our constituents hear it all the time because, it's just something that happens, but there's not really much anybody could do when we had that event. And again, the chart really shows what had happened that day and how that happened. So with that, I'm gonna show a couple of photos of some different areas that I was out that evening. So I'm gonna stop this share and see if I can open up with just a couple of photos of some different areas when I was out that evening. So we have a problem, well, it's not a problem, but over in Ridgefield, there is a street called Pebblebrook, and Pebblebrook tends to flood when we have these major rain events. They are designed and meeting our ordinances, but sometimes the street there floods and the rear yards flood. So I'm going to share a screen here of a photo from that day. Bear with me. everybody see this photo?
Yes,
So
it's fine.
this is, if you could look past the trees, this is a detention pond in the back. I know it's kind of small. This detention pond is between Hummingbird and Pebble Brook on this side. And this pond fills up, in a good rain event like we had, just like this every time. This is common area. This is the detention basin. It's supposed to do this. It's meeting and it's doing what it was designed to do. It's designed to hold back water during these major events, and that is what this is doing. Okay, so by these trees, I'm looking at the elevation here. These trees tell me that we had about a 50 to 100 year storm, or that's what amount of water is being held in this pond. Because I know, I've been told the elevations around these trees, and they correlate with the 50 to 100 year storm event elevations. So basically, this is not anybody's property. This is all common area. It's not going on anybody's personal property. This is all common area. So I'm gonna stop this share and I'm gonna show you the road. Bear with me here. I got somebody else. So when this happens, this was what happens to the road. So if you could see this photo, so the road floods. That water seeks elevation. So that water level in that photo, it's hard probably for you ladies.
No, it's hard for us to see.
I'll show it to you in a second.
Okay.
So the water level in this photo is what the water level is in that pond. There, obviously in there, if you could see here, there's a drive apron right here. It's still in the drive apron. Obviously this car decided to go through. It's not on anybody's property yet. If it got past the sidewalk, it would be on private property. But these houses sit another 2 feet above this. So all of North Ridgeville would have to be underwater before any water got into these homes. Yes, it's a nuisance, but at the same time, this meets design. The basins meet the 10-year design standard that we have in our city. So there's not really much we could do if we have a storm greater than 10 years. So I'm gonna stop this share. And I'm going to show the ladies this picture here in the room. They can see it. See that? So that water level is basically the same as what it is in the pond. There's some catch basins somewhere right in here. And where the catch basin is, what our laws or ordinances state is that when we have a rain event, that they must hold water to the 10-year event, which is, I'd have to look at the ordinance, but which is like a few inches of water in a 24-hour period. Well, we had a few inches of water in a 60-minute period. It just doesn't work. It's never gonna work. So that's basically that. So if you could see that, that happens. When this event happens, this happens on Pebble Brook.
Mr. Chairman, what do you have a timestamp on that by any chance? What time that was photo was taken?
That was in the evening. Those were sent to me by one of the residents there. Let me see if it has a timestamp. That was 6:53.
Okay, and so from the way I was tracking the storm that night, that was after the worst of it. So that's actually,
that was way after the worst of it. So
some probably receded before that picture was taken at that point.
No, I think that shows the worst that it typically gets. It typically gets up to about the sidewalk, which is, you can see in that photo, it's gotten up to about the sidewalk in that drive apron. That's what it typically does in that area. So that's common. I shouldn't say common, but when we have this event, that's what happens in that area. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show a couple other photos that we had from that evening while I was out in the area. Bear with me while I try to bring some up here. Oh, that's okay. So here's a photo I'm going to share of our wonderful firefighters helping somebody across Mills Creek trying to get out of their home. Let me see if I can screen share this. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. Something's not working. Give me 1 second. Let me try that again.
Brendan must be zooming in.
Okay, so there's that photo. There's our firefighters. There's a little boat across the way there that they're getting somebody out and they're bringing them across. This is pretty bad. So I was out there, we were out there for about, well, I was just in that particular location for about an hour with our firefighters as they were helping somebody across the river from the other side. Again, this is Mills Creek Lane.
Do you
So
have
I'm
a
gonna
time,
stop.
Mr. Chairman, do you have a timestamp on that picture?
Yes, I can share that. Give me 1 second. That was at, that was at 7:43.
Wow. Because
So-
around 452, that same exact intersection was probably about 19, 20 inches deep. So it got to that point. I guess made a
Yeah.
bunch of notes from when I was traveling through all of Ward 4, the entire event. That was about 19 inches deep at 452.
Yeah, there was, it rises rapidly when these events happen. So yeah, it will rise rapidly during an event. Let me show the ladies in the room this photo. Couldn't see it earlier. Connection here. Okay.
There we go.
All right, so we froze there for a second, so.
Can anybody else here still hear me? Can anybody?
Yeah.
Still...
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see. I don't know how. It said I'm the host. I don't know how that happened.
It looks like we lost City Hall.
Yeah.
I'm gonna communicate with them right now, see if they can get back on. I'm gonna try to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go back on mute though, because now you're just gonna hear diesel engines idling.
All right, very good. Thank you.
They lost the video.
Yeah, I'm gonna communicate with City Hall now and see if we can get it back. They are trying to get back in right now, they're saying.
They lost the video.
Hopefully they're coming back.
All right, sorry about that. We lost everybody there for a second, but it looks like everybody's still here.
Yeah, we're all here. Everybody seemed to be intact. We just lost you guys for a minute, so we're all still here.
Okay, we had like a internet meltdown. So with that being said, I don't want to share any more screens because I don't know if that's going to kill us again. So if there's anybody that has a couple of questions we can talk about real quick, that's you've been wanting to ask that we didn't talk about already, let me know. So I'll just go with Wayne. Cliff, do you have anything?
I have a few things. I know that you do modeling to some extent, and I apologize if my ignorance, I'm not explaining that well enough, but rainfall throughout the city based on events. I saw your chart based on the quantity of rain, but you do some sort of modeling where you kind of anticipate where the rain's going to do when it hits. Is that right?
Well, we know where the rain goes already. So, you know, based on where rain hits in the city, we have mapping, we have storm sewers, we know where all of the water's going. It's just a matter of storage for those facilities. No city, and ours as well, is designed to handle that, what happened on that day. I think we may have talked about this before, but our storm sewers are designed for a 5-year storm, which is 2 to 3 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. Okay, so that's a light rain for 24 straight hours. And I'm going to use Jim Smolik's comment from the other day. He said a good comment that he used at Planning Commission the other night when it comes to these type of storm events is a church is not built for Easter Sunday. It's built for your everyday. If you go to church, and if anybody goes to church, you know on Easter Sunday, forget about it. You better get there 2 hours early or you're not getting in. So with that being said, it's the same thing with our storm sewer system. They're not built for that. And if they were, the pipes would be so big that they'd be sticking out of the ground, which it's not even cost effective or feasible.
I understand that. And I guess more specifically, my question was for areas that are having more issues than other areas in the city. I know you know how it flows and where it goes. And I understand that you're very accurate and very attentive to that based on conversations and all the mapping you've shown me in the past. I just was curious if, hey, this area seems to have more of a problem in this area, historically, things of that nature. Cause, where we're at on the east side of town, we get hit pretty good, as every, one of these major storms comes through.
I believe that the Boulder Drive project will definitely help the east end of town. But the Boulder Drive project needs almost $4 million more in funding to make it a reality. Obviously funding is an issue for everything that we do here at the city. So, if we had $4 million today, we would be building that project tomorrow, but we don't. So in order to get there, we have to have a revenue source or some source to do that. And until we have a revenue source or, some other funding mechanism for that, we're always going to be behind. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but we could spend $100 million and not solve any problems. But we're trying to spend wisely and do the projects that we can do to help and benefit the areas that, obviously we saw Mills Creek is definitely going to benefit from that project. But, in order to get there, we would have to significantly raise our stormwater fee to cover the debt service on a loan to take out on that project if we don't get any more grant funding.
I understand. I agree with you. I'm kind of excited about that project, and I know it's going to take time and money. And everything you're saying, I agree with you 100%. The basic question was, if you did modeling based on all the information that I knew that happened that night, if it would be beneficial to you in any which way, was the base of the question.
I mean, we know
what I was witnessing at certain time frames during the evening in that storm, and since you know how many inches it came in.
It could happen in the morning. So timing doesn't make a difference. It's always the amount and how fast it happens. So the duration and the amount of rain that we got makes up the storm. So it could happen in the middle of the night, it could happen in the afternoon. That part doesn't matter. We know where our bad areas are. East side of town, north of Center Ridge. I know where they are. But in order to do anything about that, most of those areas are storm sewered. Most of those areas have ditches. They just cannot handle that amount of water. But those all were areas that were developed prior to today's standards. So none of those areas where we built hundreds and thousands of homes have detention. So they were built in the 60s, they were built in the 70s. Mills Creek has no detention. So there's, a few hundred homes in there, 500 homes, no detention. And that was built in the 70s and 60s. Anything going west from there, Maine, Broad, Pleasant, was mostly built in the 70s, 60s, 70s, some late 80s, earlier 80s. But all of that, the whole northern part of the city from 83, basically east, was built with no detention. So do they have problems there? Yes. We're currently working with some consultants to see if we can get a proposal that's cost effective for them to start picking off an area. Since we already have basically from Learnagle east picked off with the Boulder Drive project, we're gonna be looking at another project somewhere from 83 east to Jaycox and basically north from the turnpike and all the way up to Mills Road to see if we can get anything in there to work. But again, even the study costs a significant amount of money. But we know that that's a problem area. I know that's a problem area. Every time we have a big storm, that area is a problem. So we're looking at all those areas individually, but you know, just to get a study done on that, it's going to be $50,000.
No, I understand. I agree with you. And I wish I could figure out a way to help fund this and help go further and faster than we are. And I understand. And it's certainly not a challenge to what you've been accomplished so far with the Boulder Drive project, which I think would be a tremendous help to us. And honestly, I'd like to say, I've lived here 20 years in the same area on the east side of town. And I think that the last storm we had compared to this one we just had, I feel the water receded faster than it did last time, in my opinion, based on just living here and how I've seen water flow. I think the work that's being done by both you and the service department did make a difference, because it did seem to recede faster than I remember any other time. And like I said, I've been here 20 years. So if there's any silver lining, I guess we could say that, in my opinion, the behavior of the receding of this post-storm was better.
I can't disagree with you. The service garage is doing a heck of a job out there day in and day out. They're cleaning the ditches. They're in there almost every day, except for when it rains. So they're out there making things better, but we still got a long ways to go.
I noticed one thing this past storm that I did not notice before, and I wanted to see your thoughts. On our border of Avon in the north side here across Mills and even going into Avon going north, it seemed like there was a lot more water that was being, lack of better terms, blocked off there, walled off there. I guess had nowhere to go there at the border. And I remember in the past, you had a river flowing south and north across Mills Road an hour after the storm happened already. And then I would say maybe 2 hours after the storm, roughly, they were flowing water by Red Tail east to west across their Nagle as well. It was just had nowhere to go. And I just don't remember seeing that behavior before, even with the last major storm.
Yeah, we were down at Red Tail, myself and the service department, John Montgomery, and it was coming across there pretty good. And there was one home there that they were trying to protect themselves. John, was pretty consistent. We also took a drive down to the east on Mills Road, and we also drove a little bit west. There could be, that's all 100-year floodplain through there. So that water is going to rise. It is going to go over the road at certain points in time when we have these storm events, especially in Avon. That whole subdivision to the west there, northwest, is all basically 100-year floodplain, a lot of that. So it's going to back up there, especially, and it's going to spill out on the Lear-Nagle north of Mills and also onto Mills, because it just has nowhere to go.
Thanks for all the info, Dan. And I've been talking enough. I think I'll do everything I can to try to get funding together. I've even called the Mannings themselves, like anybody to try to help. And I appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I'm going to do one thing real quick. I want to check our live stream on YouTube if I can remember how to check I may have lost it, but we're still live. Here it goes. I just want to see if we have any questions here before I go any further with the audience. There were some questions from Michelle Vrooman Kennett. And we will, and I can answer these separately. So she had a question. We cannot change the ordinance for 5 to 10-year storms, only because those are basically engineering practices that have been set for a long time. Those numbers will be updated for duration of storm and intensity and frequency. But if we changed our ordinance to do that, nobody could afford to build to that standard. So even your $300,000 house would cost $600,000, or your 200 would cost 400. And the amount of homes, it just doesn't make sense to do that for something that happens at a 0.01% chance. So you probably won't be able to get that done. Most communities have the same ordinance structure that we do. So in order for that won't change. And that wouldn't have made a difference with the May 15 outcomes if we would have changed that rule. Michelle also asked if there was, what changes were you referring to in the Lorraine Road and Sugar Ridge, if at all? The Boulder Drive project will definitely help with things in the Lear-Nagel, Chestnut Ridge, because we get so much water off of I-480 and water out of North Olmsted. That's going to hold out that water back and let North Ridgeville water out first. So that's definitely going to help there. As far as Sugar Ridge, those are different drainage basins. But yeah, if we add some different basins around the city, we will see better results, because a lot of those areas, like I said, were older areas that weren't designed to today's standards. So we're looking at some different studies in different areas, like I was explaining to Mr. Winkle, to look at different areas now that we have the Boulder Drive project pretty much set, to maybe look at a future project in a different area. But again, funding is always an issue. Will the Boulder Drive project help with flooding? This is from Ron 919 in the Gina Pitts area. Yes, it will. It will take the high storm activities that we have during these high rain events offline and put them into the drainage basin off Boulder Drive. So it will take these higher rain events. You'll definitely see a significant difference in rain events after that project is done. Hopefully we can get that project done within the next 2 to 3 years. So I try to answer those questions. If anybody has any other questions, they can email me. My email address is on our website, city website, www.nridgeville.org, and go to the engineering page under departments, and our list is there. You can email me directly, and I can try to answer some other specific questions if you have any. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Mr. Dunham, do you have any questions? Okay, Mr. Burrow, do you have any questions?
No, good meeting, no questions.
Brendan, do you have any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
I had a homeowner over on Clear Creek off of Chestnut.
Okay.
I've heard through the grapevine, they didn't know. They had heard that the farm field behind their house sold, and that it was a developer that was going to be coming in to put more homes in. And they understand that there's going to be, all sorts of reviews. If there's going to be all sorts of reviews for, drainage and stuff. Their concern was, though, because they don't have a pond. They have one of those ditches that surrounds the entire development, just because it hadn't been cleaned in years. Their concern was that without that field there to kind of slow down and absorb some of the water that they were going to get hit with, it was going to aggravate their flooding problem. And yeah, that was their concern. So I don't know. Have you heard anything that they're developing that field or anything like that?
Nothing has been submitted to the city at this point. So I have no idea if that has changed hands, if it's going to be developed or not. Nothing for that has been submitted to Planning Commission at this point.
Okay.
Nobody's come into the city. So we have not seen anything yet. Not to say that it won't happen, but we haven't seen anything yet. So I'll keep my
Okay.
eye on it. I know the service department was or should be working on the ditches around that area.
Okay.
But I believe they needed to make contact with some homeowners because there's some fences and sheds real close to the ditch line that will need to be removed. So I think they were trying to organize that first and then go ahead and get that work done.
Okay. All right. That was their concern. So, all right, I'll reach back out to them and let them know, see if maybe they're on a list to be cleaned sooner or later. So,
Yes, and if they want to reach out to the service department, I would call Ray Ford at the service department.
okay.
I think their number is 353-0814.
Okay.
And Ray Ford will touch base with them and he can add them to their list. I'm pretty sure though that area is already on the list to be cleaned.
Okay. All right. Then I will let them know.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to Mr. Dunham. Did you have anything? Okay. Ms. Swain?
I do. I've noticed since the expansion of Center Ridge, there's been certain areas that flood since the last maybe 2 years.
Yep.
What's going to be the solution if that's still a problem after the road widening?
I will say that the Center Ridge Road project should help us. The 4 basins that were started to be dug have not been completed. So what you're probably seeing is just runoff that is not being controlled. But when the project is completed, all the rainwater that falls on Center Ridge goes into detention ponds where it never went before. Before it used to just fall off to the north and to the south. Now the curbs are going to stop that. It's going to direct it into a basin, catch basin, and then into a retention basin. There's one by St. Peter's, one at Jaycox, one at Root, one at Ranger Way, and there's going to be one at Lear Nagel. When the project is done, hopefully those will take care of those issues. If not, we'll have to revisit them, but there shouldn't be any issues. All that should be collected on the road. I did get a call from a gentleman that lives on Emerald, and he said that he was concerned because there was so much water rushing down Emerald. Well, my comment to him was, one, all the basins have dandy sacks on them for erosion control prevention. So we don't want a bunch of dirt going to storm sewer. So a lot of that water just pools around the catch basins or it goes backwards. But no more water is going to fall down the hill of Emerald than fell down before. It seems like it's going a lot faster because it has brand new pavement. The pavement there before was shot and it just didn't go anywhere. Now the pavement is brand new. It's crowned, it goes to the sides and it goes north down the hill, and it goes a lot faster pace because it's not full of a bunch of holes. So I think he just saw that as, and was worried, obviously concerned. So I didn't see an issue with that. We'll keep an eye on that. But all of the sewers in the area were clean. So the sewers in that area were pretty good. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but the whole storm sewer system is not complete. And it's not open as it should be, but it will be in the fall, hopefully soon.
So my concern is more towards Stony Ridge across from the cemetery.
Okay.
Where the city made ODOT dig it back up because it was backing up pretty bad.
Okay.
And it's the same spot. It's right in front of the Pelfrey House.
Okay. Well,
Yesterday's rainstorm, I mean, people had to drive around it.
yeah, we'll have to look at it. I'll have to touch base with Seth. I'll touch base with ODOT on that to see. But again, when it's all said and done, it is going to pond because the curb's higher. So it is going to pond on the road right now because the curb is higher, and they haven't put in that little bevel that they did in the rest of the project because they're going to pave the finished course this year. So the water is not getting there. It's going to pond on the road. How much is going to pond on the road, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we do have under drains. But when we get that other course on, it should be high enough to shed that water to the gutters and the gutters to take it where it needs to go. Those gutters are pitched, so they have percent fall to them. So they should be good, but we can check it.
Make sure it's being done right at least.
Will do. Ms. Hung, do you have anything? Okay, let's see here. Just a quick response to Ms. Vrooman. Yes. These projects are very expensive and they, the city, you know, obviously doesn't have a huge revenue source for these projects. So yes, it's going to take a while to get everything under control. Do I think we're ever going to stop flooding in the city of North Ridgeville? No, but I think as we go along and as Mr. Winkle said, you know, things are getting better with every project that we do. So every project that we do mitigates flooding a little bit more and more. And I think we're on the right track. It's just, it's a slow go, unfortunately. So if there's no other questions, anybody? I'm gonna go ahead and close this meeting. Is everybody good? Cliff?
Yes, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any announcement for the next meeting?
The next meeting will be Tuesday, October 28th, 2020, at 7 p.m. And I'm not sure, I'm assuming we're probably gonna still be on Zoom. So we can, we'll probably have this meeting again during Zoom and we'll try to do better next time. Hopefully we don't have any freezes in the meeting. And thanks to everybody for attending. Those in the chat window, thanks for watching us and listening in to what's going on. And again, if you have any other questions, give us a call or email me directly at the city and I'll try to respond to you as soon as I can. We are very busy, so I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. But thanks for attending. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.